I was trapped underwater for 3 days. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me, but we're gonna find out how this actually happened to somebody because what do you mean?
Usually, waking up because you have to go to the bathroom is annoying, but on May
Yeah.
26, 2013, waking up and leaving his bunk to use the bathroom was a decision that saved 29-year-old Harrison Ojegba Okene's life. Through an
Okay.
odd twist of fate, Harrison ended up being the lone survivor of a boat sinking at sea. He can lay
Oh, God. Where to start? I've said this one too many times, maybe, but I cannot picture myself on the ocean. It's not, I don't want to do a cruise. I don't want to do a yacht party. I don't want to do none of that. Maybe that'll change in the future. But the idea of being stuck at sea is actually blowing my mind sometimes because what do you mean I'm like a little speck in the water and there are so many different animals that can literally tear me limb by limb and just devour me? No, no. And I'm assuming that this is not going to convince me to go in the ocean. So, yeah, okay.
claim to a unique title. He's the only person in the world to have survived on the seafloor for nearly 3 days. The
That's
Gulf of Guinea in
crazy.
the southeast Atlantic Ocean is rich with petroleum-laden layers of sedimentary seabed. Many offshore oil rig drilling operations dot the African coast here. On May
Mm-hmm.
26th, about 20 miles off of Escravos, Nigeria, in choppy seas, 3 tugboats pitched and yawed as they performed tension tow functions on a Chevron oil tanker filling up at single buoy mooring number 3. Just
Okay.
before 5 a.m., the tugboat Jascon 4 was caught by a large rogue wave and capsized. Because of ongoing piracy problems in the Gulf,
happening.
security protocol on the tugboat was that the 12-man crew would lock themselves in their room when sleeping. Unfortunately, this
Oh.
rule slowed down the Jascon 4's crew when they tried to escape. The crew members had to first
That's not a good idea. I mean, I get it. I get it not wanting pirates to come in and bother you and stuff, but that's not a good idea. What if somebody needs to get into your room because there's an emergency and now they can't get in and you're sleeping? Like, imagine somebody who's sleeping at sea and like who's a heavy sleeper. That's not a good idea. And one thing that always bothered me about the sea is how those oil rigs are installed into the ocean. Like, how does that work? It doesn't make sense in my brain at all. I've seen a movie where an oil rig like blew up and stuff. I don't remember the name, but it was an amazing, amazing movie. The acting was on point, the story plot was on point and everything. But regardless, it's just like the whole movie. I remember thinking, how exactly do you guys put an oil rig into the ocean? My brain just cannot like process the idea, you know? It just it makes no sense whatsoever. But being on a boat and having your door locked, it's probably not a good idea, especially if it's just 12 people in there.
scramble out of their cabins. That is, except for the vessel's cook, Harrison, who had gotten up to use the bathroom in his underwear. When the tugboat keeled over and the ocean rushed in, Harrison had to force the bathroom's metal door open against the wall of water. The pressure of the water was extremely strong and Harrison was
bet.
unable to follow some of his colleagues to the emergency hatch. He
Aw,
watched
man.
in horror as a surge overwhelmed 3 crew members and swept them out of the boat into the raging sea. Then the
No.
water pushed Harrison down a narrow hallway into another bathroom which adjoined an officer's cabin. Dazed and bruised but miraculously still alive, Harrison held onto an overturned wash basin to keep his head above water in the 4-foot square bathroom. The boat sank
feet.
nearly 100 feet, eventually coming to rest upside down on the seabed. When the tugboat capsized, there was an immediate
gosh.
rescue operation launched with the other boats in the area and a helicopter. A diving
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
crew quickly located the wreck and marked the location with buoys. They banged
That's
on the
good.
hull. Harrison hammered back, but they didn't hear him. As the divers weren't prepared
I
for
would lose
deep
my
diving,
mind.
they could only stay at the depth of the wreck for a limited period of time. The rescue was called off due to no evidence of survivors. After
What do you mean? What do you mean? Y'all ain't checked the boat? How big was this boat? It's- uh, Imagine that you're in the ocean, in the very deep bottom of the ocean, waiting for help. The help comes and leaves. I would lose my mind. Okay. I would absolutely lose it because there's no way that y'all about to leave me. in the bottom of this ocean with no help. I would have lost all hope. I cannot imagine having to swim from the bottom of the ocean all the way to the top with no equipment. You have to hold your breath. And what I understand about the ocean is that if you're going from the bottom to the top, you can't just go from the bottom to the top. You have to stop at different levels because I don't remember the exact terminology that I've heard, but you have to go at a specific pace for you to not literally die. Like there's so many different factors that can kill you in the ocean. It's just crazy. And I feel the same exact way about, being on the planet in general, but like the ocean is just it's mysterious, okay? And I don't like it. Don't like it. My rescue team leaving me in the boat, not knowing that I'm alive would actually drive me insane.
After nearly a day of being in the bathroom, Harrison got up the courage to leave his little air pocket. In pitch darkness, he swam and felt his way into the engineer's office. Miraculously,
Yes,
there
it'd
was
be
another
dark.
air pocket here too, of about 4 feet high in Harrison's estimation. Having solved the immediate problem of having air to breathe, Harrison could focus on other concerns. The first one being that he was cold. In May, the surface temperature of the East Atlantic on average is a pleasant 81.9 degrees Fahrenheit,
good.
but Harrison was 100 feet down. Shivering, wet, and wearing only boxer shorts, Harrison faced hypothermia, or his body losing heat faster than he could produce it. Cautiously,
Oh God. It's too many things. Like I said, it's too many things. And when you're in water for too long, whether you were showering, bathing, or even washing dishes, your hands do that thing that it does. I don't know what it's called, but it does, it shrivels up. Imagine that happening to your whole body and you're cold on top of that. Something else that I absolutely hate is the cold. Bro, too many factors, like too many factors, and you probably still haven't eaten. You can't drink the seawater because you'll lose your mind and actually die. Like, it's too many things. How did you survive even a whole day so far? God blesses a lot of people, yo.
Harrison felt his way around the cabin. He found some tools and used them to strip off wall paneling. With a mattress
wow.
and the material from the wall, he was able to make a platform to sit on. This platform helped Harrison to stay afloat
Wow.
and lifted the upper half of his body out of the water, allowing him to reduce heat loss.
Wow.
Hungry, thirsty, cold, and stuck in complete darkness, Harrison was terrified. He tried to think about his family. Quite religious, whenever he felt especially scared, Harrison would pray and call on Jesus to rescue him. Over
Yeah.
time, the seawater began to remove the skin from Harrison's tongue. He could
I'm sorry, what? What do you mean the seawater started to remove the skin off it? What? Do you see what I mean? Like, I would rather stay away from the ocean. What do you mean the ocean the water start excuse me? In what universe does that make sense? Like, what? Is it because it's too salty? Like, what is going on? And the thing is, like, this visual is showing that, you can see him and everything, but imagine being in complete darkness and having to deal with this. Like, the human eyes are not meant to see stuff in the dark. So, like, it's another factor. Like, this man was strong. Him building that platform in the dark to help him, that's smart. That's creative, and that's like dedication. Shout out to you, Harrison, because wow, that is insane. That is insane.
smell something rotting. He thought it was the decomposing bodies of his former shipmates. Every small sound in the dark was magnified. The creaking of
bet.
the hull, the banging of the wreckage against the walls,
I
and
bet.
most horrifically, splashing and eating noises as fishes nibbled at corpses. Meanwhile, a dive support
I'm sorry. Like, this is what I mean. Like, you're in the ocean and you're literally going to have fish eating at you. Why? Why would I want to expose myself to that potential thing happening, It's a no for me. It's a definitive no for me. 100% no. 1,000% no.
Support
Okay.
vessel, the Luek Toucan, arrived to the area of the sinking. The parent company of the Jascon 4, West African Ventures, had hired a deep-sea salvage saturation diving team from subsea services company DCN Global to retrieve the bodies of the lost crew members. The
Okay.
6 divers, deck crew, and technical staff of the Luek Toucan knew it was going to be a grueling mission.
I
Aside
bet.
from the heart-rending work of recovering the dead, the boat had sunk upside down into soft mud, stirring up fine silt and creating extremely poor visibility. Furthermore, because of the security protocols, the boat was latched from the inside. Dive Team 2 consisted of Nico van Heerden, Andre Erasmus, and Daryl Oosthuizen, with Supervisor Colby Ware topside on the ship, helping to guide the divers via a connected microphone while watching the dive through a camera worn by Nico. The team spent
A
over an
camera
hour
in
breaking
water?
through an external watertight door and
Wow.
then a second metal door to get into the sunken boat. Once inside, it was extremely disorienting, with the ceiling being on the bottom and the floor overhead. The murky water was filled with all sorts of hazards, including
bet.
furniture and equipment. Slowly, painstakingly, the divers explored the boat. They'd recovered 4 corpses when Nico crawled up the stairs to the main deck. It was
my
a tight
gosh.
squeeze with the diving gear on his back. He was in a small passageway getting his bearings when something suddenly reached out of the murk and touched him. Harrison
Something suddenly reached out and touched him. Honey, I would have lost it. I know it's Harrison, but still. Like, you never know in the ocean. It's so many different animals. Like, it's just something that we're not used to. We don't even know half of the things down there. So it's just like anything could be touching you right now. But having to recover 4 dead bodies is actually insane. And I can imagine being the only survivor on that boat in that instance. Like, jeez.
had nearly given up hope when he had heard a noise that sounded like an anchor dropping. Then eventually he heard hammering on the hull of the boat. He knew it had to be divers. He banged on the wall but didn't think they heard him. Then Harrison saw the light from one of the divers' head torches as he swam through the hallway past the far end of the cabin. Unfortunately, the diver was too quick and left the area before Harrison could reach him.
Oh,
But
no.
then came the magical moment. You may have seen the surreal, amazing rescue footage from Nico's video when he sees what he believes is another dead body. He touches the corpse's hand, and the hand unexpectedly squeezes his. Nico has a momentary freak out as his supervisor Colby shouts through the microphone, "He's alive! He's alive!" Colby then tells Nico to comfort Harrison by patting him on the shoulder and giving him a thumbs up sign. The divers were amazed to find Harrison alive. The
That's
maximum
crazy.
depth for recreational diving is 130 feet. Generally, recreational divers don't stay at 100 feet for more than 20 minutes. In terms of the air pocket, the divers had reached Harrison just in time. A human inhales roughly 350 cubic feet of air every 24 hours. However, because the
could've
boat
ran
was
out of
under pressure on
water.
the
I
ocean
mean,
floor, scientists estimate that
air.
Harrison's air pocket had been compressed by a factor of about 4. If the pressurized air pocket were about 216 cubic feet, it would contain enough oxygen to keep Harrison alive for about 2.5 days. When Harrison was located, he had been underwater for about 60 hours. An additional danger came from the carbon monoxide or CO2 buildup. CO2 is fatal to humans at a concentration of about 5%. As Harrison breathed, he exhaled carbon dioxide,
dioxide, yeah.
slowly increasing the levels of the gas in the tiny space. However, CO2 is absorbed by water, and
Oh,
by
really?
splashing the water inside his air pocket, Harrison inadvertently increased the water's surface area, thereby heightening the absorption of CO2 and helping to keep the gas below the lethal 5% level. The diver
Okay. There's a lot of science in there, but I understood it, and it's something that I'm noting in my head right now. I don't know when this will be helpful, but it is very good to know. I didn't think about that other factor though, with him being in that little air pocket and basically you're underwater and everything. And what they're saying is you're underwater, you're breathing in the little amount of oxygen that's in the environment, and you're exhaling carbon dioxide, which, is deadly to us. So he could have just like died from suffocation basically at the end of the day if he even survived those 3 days. That's crazy to think about. Like, again, another factor to keep me away from the ocean. Even if my ship sinks and there's an air pocket in there, I could potentially die from breathing in my own gas that I just, like, what? But it's good to know, though, that if I splash the water, the carbon dioxide kind of like does some type of chemical reaction thing with the water. That's good to know. That is very scary. Too many factors. Too many factors affecting this situation right here. But he made it through after 2.5 days. Wow, impressive.
Divers describe Harrison as having CO2 poisoning, being short of breath and delirious when they found him. He wouldn't have lasted much longer. The divers first used hot water to warm Harrison up, then fitted him with an oxygen mask. Meanwhile, on the surface, the dive support crew was in contact with medical and diving experts, discussing how to best help the survivor. Harrison had a new problem, what divers commonly call the bends. The bends, also known as decompression sickness or caisson disease, occurs when nitrogen bubbles form in the blood as a result of changes in pressure. If Harrison ascended directly from 100 feet underwater to the surface of the ocean, the bubbles in his blood would cause, in the best case, joint pain and rashes, to the worst case, paralysis, neurological issues, cardiac arrest, or possibly even death. It was
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Like, if you're that deep into the ocean, you can't just rise to the top and swim to the top and everything. You have to gradually go up so you don't die. He explained it better than I did, but that's basically what I was saying earlier.
Decided that Harrison would be treated as if he were one of the saturation divers coming up after a dive. Harrison spent about 20 minutes getting used to breathing through the mask. Then the divers put a diving helmet and harness onto him. They were a little worried that he would panic as they got him out of the boat and would be a danger to the dive, but Harrison continued to be cool under pressure. The team was impressed with his level demeanor. Harrison was taken from the boat and led to a diving bell, which took him to the surface. He finally arrived topside at around 7 p.m. on Tuesday, the 28th of May. Disoriented, Harrison thought that it was Sunday evening and that he had only been trapped for 12 hours. He was shocked to learn that he'd been underwater for over 2 days. From the diving bell, Harrison was moved to a decompression chamber where he stayed for another 2.5 days while his body decompressed to surface pressure. Of the 12 crew members on board the tugboat Jascon 4, divers rescued one survivor and recovered 10 of the bodies. The search for the 11th crew member had to be called off due to dangerous conditions. Harrison made a full recovery from his ordeal and returned to his hometown of Warri, Nigeria. He didn't go to the funerals of his colleagues because he feared their families' reactions. Nigerians can be very religious, but are also superstitious. Some rumors spread that Harrison saved himself through black magic. Harrison was also plagued with survivor's guilt, wondering why he was the
I'm sorry, being Haitian, I definitely understand that part. And, the whole idea of you survive because of black magic. In my culture, that would be called voodoo. And, I definitely understand that. And it's very sad that you have to avoid going to somebody's funeral or multiple people's funerals in this situation, just because of speculation and these things. Like, you guys were on the boat together, so like, I should be able to pay my respects to these people who just died. Like, I could have been one of those people at the end of the day, and I somehow survived by the grace of God, and you tell me that I cannot attend his funeral, the other's funeral. Like, no. But I definitely understand that with the cultural aspects of it, because Haitians can be
only one to live. Since the incident, Harrison's experienced PTSD. His wife, Akpavono Kene, says he suffers nightmares. Harrison will suddenly awake, screaming and flailing, convinced that he's underwater. Harrison has since taken a cooking job on dry land and vows to never again take a position on a boat. He made a pact with God when he was at the bottom of the ocean. When I was under the water, I told God, if you rescue me, I will never go back to the sea again. Never.
Now, having seen that, do I think I could survive 3 days underwater? Honestly, I don't know for sure, but I could say that in a situation where you have to fight for your life, you might be surprised as to what you can do to survive, honestly, because every situation is different. But at the end of the day, that was crazy. Like, the air pockets and being able to actually survive for about 3 days in there, by the grace of God, he had bigger plans for you. And I don't blame him for not wanting to go back to the ocean. Okay. I I would stay away, like, as far away from the ocean as I possibly could after that, especially seeing that just about everybody died. I mean, they didn't find the 11th person, but I'm assuming, that's because they were dead. So, like, by the grace of God, you survived. So stay away from the ocean for sure. That is seriously a serious blessing because those people came right on time to find you before you went, dead because you were breathing in your own oxygen. I mean, your own CO2. Like, this was miracle. Like, this was something that is definitely worth celebrating because you were literally the only survivor. That's insane. Insane, insane, insane. And this is why, people, I stay away from the ocean, okay? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you feel like you could actually survive something like this. Because, shit, this is some crazy stuff. And if you like videos like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because there are plenty more to come, okay? Until next time, bye.